Hello from Gardening at Douentza here in Ireland, and you are very welcome to this rhododendron garden tour. Now, I absolutely love rhododendrons, and my three favourite ones are in flower at the moment. So while they're not all in bloom, I did want to show you the three best, in my opinion, that are looking absolutely glorious now. So do come with me and we'll make a rhododendron tour. And for anyone who's really interested in the subject, the good news is that there is a more in-depth, comprehensive rhododendron video coming your way, all about care and deadheading and all of those questions that you have about growing these amazing, wonderful, fantastic plants. So let's have a look at the garden. Let's see the rhododendrons that are in bloom and check out my three favourites. They're really good ones. And a good place to start is with my absolute favourite rhododendron of them all. And this is Lady Alice Fitzwilliam. And from where I was sitting just a moment ago, the scent is intoxicating. So amazing and so beautiful and sweet and gorgeous, all the good things. She really is my favourite, and the leaves are really delicate as well, not like many rhododendron leaves, which are evergreen of course, which is great in winter, but not so absolutely great when you get into summer and you want something lighter and airier in your garden. Now, I've had this rhododendron for several years. It's slightly more tender than the others, which is why it's planted in this sheltered position. And as we can see, it's underneath a gorse hedge, a gorse tree, which is part of the native hedge at the edge of the garden that borders onto the farmer's field beyond. And I hate the gorse, because what happens continuously is that it drops needles and they fall into the border. So this border is horrible to weed in spring, and I always put it off until the end, even though I have my favourite rhodo in there, just brimming up with buds and waiting to burst into flower. But the prickliness, no, not a good thing. I love many things about this bush. The scent, of course, the look of the flowers, the delicateness of the leaves, but also the deep pink of the buds before they open. It's just an added feature that I really love. I love this rhodo so much so that I bought a second one very recently, and I bought that second one to be my daughter's birth tree, because rhododendrons, of course, in time, even though this one is quite slow growing and quite small, they do gain trunks and they do become big, and there's nothing quite as wonderful as a rhododendron forest, which you'll see in the next video that I have to offer you that's coming your way. But anyway, yeah, really love this one. Couldn't say enough good things about her. I must say that if you only grow one rhododendron, then this is absolutely the one to go for, in my opinion. I think it's just amazing. It makes a fabulous pot plant as well for a cool conservatory or a greenhouse. And for the first couple of years that I grew this one, I actually had it in the greenhouse, and the fragrance in spring was to die for. A fabulous rhododendron. And of course, here on the left, it is flanked by a variegated rhodo, which has a cream tinge to the edge of the leaves. And variegation is a wonderful thing for kind of brightening up a dark, shady area, and the leaves on this do a great job. It also produces purple flowers, which you can see from the buds are just thinking about coming. And just while we're in the neighbourhood, somebody recently asked me about my hardy orchids, my cypripedium, and yes, I do grow them. And didn't you see my video on hardy orchids and growing hardy orchids outdoors in this purpose-built bed? Now, these two are the ones I have in bloom at the moment, budding up nicely. And this second one here has been knocked down a bit by the rain, so I need to get a little stake in there, but it's all to look forward to. Now let's travel to a different section of the garden where I want to show you some rhododendrons I've had for quite a long time. Gosh, these ones were one of the first plants I bought when we moved in here, so that's like 20 years ago. And obviously I lost the plant labels over time, so I am not quite sure what these varieties are. I think this white one is Cunningham's white, but I'm not altogether sure. In any case, it produces masses of white flowers and flowers really well in the shade of this cherry tree, and nice green leaves. And I just love how when it's in flower it really brightens up the area underneath the tree, which of course is in shade. And yeah, I'm happy with it. And to the right of it we have a rhodo that isn't yet in flower, but we do have buds, as you can see. And as you can also see is that the buds are a quite deep red, and these will open with smallish flowers that are red with markings in at the throat, in the same way as the Cunningham's white had. And this is doing quite well here. Right down in front of it we have an azalea, a Japanese azalea, which is an evergreen azalea. And of course there's no difference between rhododendron and azalea. Azaleas are now classified as rhododendrons, but I'll talk more about this when we get on to the other video all about rhododendrons and growing them. In any case, this azalea, evergreen azalea, Japanese azalea, is quite slow growing and quite easy to clip and make into a good shape, which I haven't necessarily done here, but worth bearing in mind. Moving further over now, we have right behind the Cunningham's white another azalea, and this one is deciduous, so it loses its leaves in winter, as some azaleas do. And what I love about this guy is the vibrancy of these deep orange flowers, flecked on the inside of each bloom with just a lighter orange that's almost orange juice coloured. And I really do like this. Unfortunately, the aquilegia are really kind of getting in the way, and I'm just waiting for them to bloom. And unless they're the pink and yellow ones, they are getting dug up and moved somewhere else. Okay, let's move on a bit. And our next port of call is this long border here where rhododendron cilipensis does a fabulous job of beaming out its glorious pink and white light and just singing to you across the garden. Now this rhododendron is quite small, quite low growing, although I've had it for a good number of years. But what I absolutely love about it is that it is a mass of blooms at this time of year. It's May now, and I absolutely love rhodos that just give so much. For me, a plant that flowers its all when it's in flower, like it's absolutely covered in blooms, that's what I want from a plant, not one of these shrubs or trees that has maybe one or two flowers all through the year. For me, that's enough value for money. When I have something in the garden, when it's in flower, I want it to look like it's in flower. And if it has downtime for the rest of the year, that's grand by me. I'll forgive it, as long as it knocks my socks off when it is in bloom. And you can see that this one has very neat little blemish-free leaves, which are another attractive feature. And the only drawback with this glorious, beautiful rhododendron is the fact that it doesn't drop its flowers after flowering, so they brown and the plant just holds on to them, and they look browner and more yucky than on various other rhododendrons. So it is one that you need to deadhead. But more about deadheading when we get to the next video about growing and maintaining rhododendrons in the garden. Okay, over here we have my second favourite rhododendron, and if you look at this and if you remember what I said before about how I want something when it's in flower to really be in flower, then you can understand why this one is my number 2. And this is Rhododendron Virginia Richards, a hybrid which has enormous, really big blooms that look fantastic. And she is kind of pinky white. I guess a lot of them are, but oh, it's so soft and feminine and blousy in spring, and I absolutely love it. And Virginia Richards also has really beautiful buds that are deep, rich pink and look fantastic before she even opens her flowers. An absolutely gorgeous one that the bees seem to love as well. They seem to love all the rhododendrons. I'm very happy to have this one in the garden. If we look at Virginia Richards from this other angle, you can see how she has spread. She really is a big girl. And so much so that I now fear some of the outer branches may break under the weight of the masses and masses of flowers she's produced. So I guess this is a kind of a nice problem to have, but I will think about what to do about that next. And over here in this corner, just beside my long border, this is the one I officially call my long border, we have a mass of rhododendron. Rhododendra, is that the plural? In any case, I've kind of cheated here because I have planted 2 plants side by side. So this is actually 2 bushes that we're looking at. And these are one of the early acquisitions in the garden. So you're looking at 20 years down. These 2 are purple flowered rhododendrons that aren't yet in bloom but will soon. They flower reliably, do really well, and it's really nice having the 2 of them together because it makes a really big purple backdrop to this section of the garden when it's in bloom. And let's go and have a look at another monster that's as old as these ones here. And this rhododendron is red in colour. Again, I'm sorry, I don't know the name. It's flanked by a big elder or sambucus tree on the right, which I do need to cut back more because it's actually shading the rhododendron out too much and it's losing branches at the back, which I don't want, because when this one is in bloom, and you can see there's the red of the flowers, and I think this is exactly the same red rhododendron that you saw before in my garden tour because they all came at the same time. I think I got a deal on rhododendrons at some stage and bought several of them because I didn't have much in the garden at all. And this is another big girl that when in flower makes an amazing backdrop. And just to wrap it up, we're going to have a quick look at this little bush here, which of course is a rhododendron, but it's within the azalea group. So like there are 8 subgenera within rhododendron and 3 of them comprise of azaleas. And this is a Japanese azalea, which means that it's evergreen. It can be clipped and it produces these lovely red flowers. And in case anyone was wondering, this is where I planted my second Lady Alice Fitzwilliam, which is the amazing rhododendron I started this video off with. This is the second one I bought just recently and have planted as a birth tree for my daughter. And as you can see, it's in quite an exposed area. There isn't any shade and there isn't much shelter. This rhododendron is slightly more tender than the others that I've shown you today. So I'm taking a bit of a risk planting it here, but I just think it would look absolutely amazing when it's in flower, and I can see it from the window in the house and it kind of blocks the view across the garden. It's going to look absolutely gorgeous. The other Lady Alice Fitzwilliam has been grown in a very sheltered position for a long period of time and she's done grand. So that has encouraged me to be a bit bolder and experiment more with where I position this rhododendron. So wish me luck. And that brings me to the end of this video about rhododendrons. Check back soon for a more comprehensive video on rhododendrons, the different types, the difference between azaleas, deciduous, evergreen, how to grow, acidic soil, the works. That is going to be coming your way as soon as I can get it together, and I hope you will enjoy it, and I hope it will encourage you to grow more rhododendrons. Thank you as always for watching. A final reminder, if anybody is interested in memberships, which is a way to get more from the channel, then hit the join button and you'll see what you would get if you were to join up, which includes free garden seeds, video clips, garden diary, and just a whole lot of fun. I love the guys who are members of the channel. We have a great bit of banter that goes on, and yeah, maybe you want to join too. Anyway, that's all for now. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.